Having spent their formative years navigating the tumultuous vortex of one of Hollywood's most notorious separations, the lives of Angelina Jolie's children in 2026 are proving to be nothing short of astonishing. From making headlines with their unconventional educational pursuits to embarking on audacious professional paths, Jolie's 6 children are forging their own identities in the world, with a remarkable degree of self-reliance and powerful ambition. This is the comprehensive look at how Maddox, Pax, Zahara, Shiloh, Knox, and Vivienne are navigating their unique paths in the present day, emerging decisively from the long shadow cast by the highly publicized drama surrounding their father, Brad Pitt. We begin with the eldest, Maddox Shivan Jolie Pitt. Just 7 months following the birth of Maddox Shivan in Cambodia back in August of 2001, Angelina Jolie's entire world was irrevocably altered. In March of 2002, Jolie made the momentous decision to adopt him as a single parent, a move made even more complex by the fact that she was still legally wed to the actor and musician Billy Bob Thornton. What had initially been envisioned as a joint endeavor to adopt a child transformed into a deeply personal, individual quest when Thornton unexpectedly backed out of the proceedings, compelling Jolie to embrace the profound responsibilities of motherhood all by herself. It was a telling sign of the fractures in their relationship as their marriage began to publicly disintegrate shortly thereafter. The couple finalized their divorce in May of 2003, but through it all, young Maddox emerged as Jolie's unwavering anchor, her steadying force in the turbulent seas of her life. At the young age of just 27, she found herself a new mother for the very first time, simultaneously juggling the immense pressures of Hollywood fame while raising a son from a culture entirely different from her own. It was a monumental challenge she undertook almost entirely without a partner, showcasing a resilience that would come to define her. Just 2 years later, Jolie's private world experienced another seismic shift when she entered into a romance with Brad Pitt, the co-star who shared the screen with her in the blockbuster film Mr. and Mrs. Smith. By the start of 2006, Pitt had completed the legal process to adopt Maddox, formally cementing his position as the boy's paternal figure and stepfather. In the years that followed, Jolie and Pitt would go on to expand their household into a large, global family, but Maddox always held the special distinction of being the original cornerstone of their unique family unit. Maddox was part of her life long before the non-stop media storm, the carefully orchestrated family appearances on red carpets, and the worldwide cultural phenomenon that became known as Brangelina. For Jolie in particular, adopting Maddox signified her deliberate and profound first journey into motherhood, an identity she embraced long before her public persona became synonymous with being a parent to 6 children. As Maddox matured into a young man, his bond with his mother flourished and solidified, nurtured by their mutual interests in a series of joint artistic ventures. He was a frequent presence on her movie sets, keenly observing and absorbing the intricate workings of the cinematic world that had so profoundly shaped his mother's professional life. By 2015, when Jolie took the director's chair for By the Sea, Maddox had already cultivated a keen interest and a discerning eye for the complex mechanics of working behind the camera. He officially came aboard that production as an assistant, immersing himself directly in the demanding environment and learning the craft of filmmaking from the ground up. Just 2 years after that, his professional responsibilities took a monumental leap forward when he was credited as an executive producer on the powerful 2017 film, First They Killed My Father. This was Jolie's emotionally gut-wrenching cinematic portrayal of Long Ung's memoir detailing her survival during the Cambodian genocide, a creative endeavor that held profound personal significance for both mother and son. For Jolie, it was a way to pay tribute to the history of her son's birth country, and Maddox, despite his youth, approached this weighty role with a seriousness and maturity that belied his years. By this point, Maddox was on the cusp of adulthood, and the next major chapter of his life would unfold a world away from the glitz and glamour of Hollywood. In August of 2019, he embarked on his higher education journey by enrolling at the prestigious Yonsei University in Seoul, South Korea, where he began his freshman year studying biochemistry. Jolie, who was clearly overcome with a powerful mix of pride and sorrow, personally accompanied her eldest son to the campus for his move-in day. Videos of the poignant moment quickly went viral, showing her embracing him in a tight hug, struggling to contain her tears as she wished him farewell. "It's hard," but I'm so incredibly proud of him," she confessed to the fans and reporters gathered at the airport. It was a profoundly bittersweet milestone for Jolie, the universal experience every parent must face, the moment they watch the child they once cradled as an infant finally soar into their own independent future. However, Maddox's relocation to South Korea also inadvertently cast a spotlight on a far more painful and complicated aspect of his life: his deeply fractured connection with Brad Pitt. Back in 2016, the Jolie-Pitt family unit experienced a cataclysmic and highly public implosion following a notorious and widely reported confrontation that occurred aboard a private jet. Allegations surfaced in numerous reports that Pitt had engaged in a heated verbal exchange with a then 15-year-old Maddox during the flight, an event that would become a pivotal catalyst in the couple's subsequent divorce and bitter custody dispute. Following that traumatic night, the relationship between the father and his eldest son is said to have suffered irreparable damage from which it has never truly healed. When reporters approached Maddox on his university campus in late 2019 to inquire about his father, his reply was a masterclass in diplomacy, yet it spoke volumes about the emotional gulf that now separated them. He offered a simple yet profoundly telling statement: "Whatever happens, happens." His carefully chosen words were imbued with the heavy wisdom of a young man who had been compelled to mature far too quickly under the unrelenting scrutiny of global fame. When pressed further about whether Pitt intended to visit him in South Korea, Maddox confessed that he had no knowledge of any such plans. This calm and collected response served only to underscore the painful reality of just how deeply fractured their father-son bond had truly become. Next, we turn to Pax Thiene Jolie Pitt. Pax Thiene Jolie Pitt's introduction to a life of global recognition started an ocean away, thousands of miles from the epicenter of Hollywood. He was born in Vietnam in November of 2003, and his first few formative years were spent within the walls of an orphanage located in Ho Chi Minh City. His existence was forever changed in March of 2007, when at the age of 3, he was adopted by Angelina Jolie. At that point, Jolie was already the devoted mother of Maddox, Zahara, and her biological daughter Shiloh, and Pax's arrival further enriched the diverse tapestry of her ever-expanding international family. This particular adoption, however, was met with significant legal hurdles, primarily because Vietnamese law at that time strictly prohibited couples who were not married from jointly adopting a child. Consequently, Jolie was required to navigate the entire legal framework and finalize the adoption officially as a single parent. Within the next year, however, her partner at the time, Brad Pitt, finalized his own legal adoption of Pax in February of 2008, making the young boy a fully and legally integrated member of the Jolie-Pitt clan. When Brad Pitt officially entered the picture, Pax was welcomed into a family that was quickly transforming into one of the most globally recognized and photographed dynasties on the planet. Even under the relentless scrutiny of the public eye, Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt made it a top priority to provide their children with a grounded upbringing, all while passionately encouraging them to explore their unique heritage and artistic talents. It became clear from very early on that Pax possessed a natural leaning toward the arts and a distinctly creative spirit. Following in the footsteps of his older brother Maddox, he would sometimes collaborate with his mother on her various film projects. In 2016, he offered his vocal talents to a minor character in the animated hit Kung Fu Panda 3, a film series his mother was deeply and personally involved with. Although the part was small, it served as Pax's official entry into the entertainment business, granting him an exclusive, behind-the-curtain view of the profession his parents had so famously conquered. Then when Jolie was at the helm, directing First They Killed My Father in 2017, a deeply personal passion project chronicling the Cambodian genocide, and co-produced with Netflix, Pax's contribution was as an on-set photographer. His keen eye for capturing powerful images became undeniable, and his quiet, focused work behind the camera provided a strong indication of where his true artistic passions might ultimately be found. In January of 2023, Pax found himself squarely at the center of public speculation once again. The intrigue ignited when Page Six published a story alleging that he was secretly pursuing a career as an artist under the mysterious pseudonym MTO. The publication claimed his specialty was in the realm of digital and mixed media art, and that he was intentionally maintaining his anonymity to develop his talents outside the colossal shadow of his family's worldwide fame. This explosive report immediately sparked widespread debate about whether Pax was meticulously preparing to launch himself into the art world, completely on his own terms, determined to forge an identity entirely distinct from the towering Hollywood legacies of his mother and father. However, the entire narrative was swiftly shot down when a representative for Jolie issued a firm denial of the claims, stating unequivocally that Pax was not the individual behind the moniker. Whether the rumors held any truth or not, the incident clearly underscored the immense curiosity surrounding Pax's private life and his apparent yearning for privacy. That powerful desire for a life of his own was put to a terrifying test the very next year, when Pax's name dominated headlines for far more distressing reasons. In July of 2024, the shocking news emerged that he had been rushed to the hospital after a serious e-bike accident in Los Angeles. According to the initial accounts, Pax had crashed into a stationary car that was waiting at a red light, tragically sustaining a head injury and significant hip pain as a result of the forceful impact. Despite the serious nature of the incident, he was thankfully described as being in stable condition, with doctors fully expecting him to be discharged shortly after the accident was made public. For his loved ones, the harrowing episode served as a stark and sobering reminder of how suddenly and drastically life can change. But for the public, it highlighted the fact that even the children of celebrities are subject to the very same risks and vulnerabilities as everyone else. Which brings us to Zahara Marley Jolie Pitt. When Angelina Jolie undertook a journey to Ethiopia in the year 2005, she was about to make one of the most profoundly life-altering decisions of her entire existence by adopting a little girl who would proceed to capture the hearts of millions across the world. Zahara Marley Jolie was born in January of that year, and by that July, at the tender age of just 7 months, she was officially welcomed as Jolie's cherished daughter. At that moment in time, Angelina was already a mother to her son Maddox, whom she had adopted from Cambodia 3 years prior in 2002, and she was actively reshaping her public image from just a Hollywood superstar into a dedicated global humanitarian and the matriarch of a growing international family. The adoption of Zahara took place during an incredibly transformative era in Jolie's personal life, and it would take on even greater significance when Brad Pitt, who was her partner at the time, made the choice to legally adopt Zahara in early 2006, cementing his role as her father and officially bestowing his last name upon the little girl. Growing up under the constant glare of the global spotlight as one of the 6 Jolie Pitt children, Zahara was often seen with her siblings and parents at everything from red carpet premieres to humanitarian missions and other public events. She became widely known for the exceptionally close bond she shared with her mother and for her fiercely protective demeanor toward her younger siblings. And Zahara always seemed to flourish within the unique and often chaotic atmosphere of Hollywood's most intensely scrutinized family. Yet, in a departure from her older brother Maddox, who has cultivated a distinct passion for filmmaking and global studies, Zahara has consistently focused her own interests on creative pursuits and humanitarian work. Her very brief foray into the entertainment industry occurred in 2016 when she lent her voice to a small character in the animated feature Kung Fu Panda 3, a film in which her mother also had a starring role. Although it was a fun project that gave her a taste of the entertainment business, Zahara did not appear to have any strong desire to continue a career in acting. Instead, she discovered her true calling by weaving together her artistic sensibilities with a passion for philanthropy. In October of 2019, at the impressively young age of 14, she played a key role in designing a jewelry line called the Zahara Collection, which was a special collaboration with the famous jeweler, Robert Prokop. Honoring her family's deep-rooted humanitarian principles, the profits from these beautifully crafted pieces were directed to shelters that provide essential support for battered women. For Jolie, it was an incredibly proud moment watching her daughter channel her own creative instincts into a project aimed at helping others, which perfectly mirrored the values she herself has long championed through her extensive humanitarian work with refugees and displaced communities all over the world. By the time 2022 came to a close, Zahara was prepared to establish her independence in an even more profound way. That August, she started her freshman year at Spelman College, a highly prestigious, historically black women's university located in Atlanta, Georgia. Jolie was right there with her daughter, taking her to the campus, and was seen looking incredibly emotional during the poignant drop-off. While her twin brother, Knox, has consistently shied away from the public eye, preferring a life of relative anonymity, Vivienne charted a completely different course from a very young age, making a memorable entrance into the dazzling world of cinema. At the tender age of just 5, she shared the silver screen with her mother in Disney's 2014 blockbuster, Maleficent, where she portrayed the innocent, younger version of Princess Aurora. Jolie later explained in interviews that Vivienne's casting was less about launching her daughter's acting career and more a decision born from pure necessity on the film set. It turned out that Vivienne was the only child on set who wasn't utterly terrified by Jolie's imposing and elaborate Maleficent costume, which featured imposing horns and intensely theatrical makeup. The on-screen moments between the real-life mother and daughter were undeniably magical, captivating audiences globally, as Vivienne's genuine sweetness brought a profound layer of authenticity to the movie's emotional heart. However, despite this successful and widely praised debut into the world of acting, Vivienne chose not to seek out any additional roles on camera. In a move that mirrored the choices of most of her siblings, she stepped back from the Hollywood limelight, turning her attention instead toward her academic pursuits and private passions. As she navigated her teenage years, public appearances of Vivienne became exceedingly uncommon, with photographers only catching fleeting glimpses of her during infrequent family excursions with her mother and siblings. That all shifted dramatically in August of 2023, when Vivienne reappeared in the public consciousness, taking on a new and entirely unexpected role. She emerged as a dedicated volunteer assistant to Jolie, who was making her own landmark debut on Broadway, but this time as a lead producer. Angelina had embarked on the ambitious project of bringing a stage adaptation of S.E. Hinton's classic novel, The Outsiders, a gritty and emotional coming-of-age saga set in 1960s Oklahoma, to life. Vivienne, who was only 15 years old at the time, relocated with her mother to New York City to immerse herself in the production from behind the curtains. Angelina shared that her daughter had cultivated a deep and serious fascination with theater and was determined to understand every facet of mounting a major production, from the earliest rehearsals to the final staging details. Jolie openly commended her daughter's focus and intellectual curiosity, painting a picture of a young woman with a sharp mind for the complexities of theater and a wonderful, cooperative spirit. What are your thoughts on the unique paths Angelina Jolie's children are forging for themselves in the world? Please share your perspectives with us in the comments section down below. We truly hope you found this exploration insightful. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to show your support with a like and share it with others who might find it interesting. Thank you for spending your time with us, and we look forward to seeing you again. Until next time, goodbye.